So every day when I wake up and just before I start my business day, I go through the tasks that need to be done that day, and I very quickly decide what tasks to do, which order to do them in, and how important they are towards the day. And so there's many different times where I completely remove tasks altogether from my business day because they just do not contribute to the goal that I have. And I see time and time again people doing tasks through their day which make them feel like they are being busy and they are being productive, but they just aren't. And it's just a case where if you have an agency and you're doing different tasks that aren't contributing to these things which I'm going to lay out in this video, then you are just simply not being productive. And it's as simple as that. So if you're looking to make more money for your agency, which I guess a lot of people are, and they're looking to grow some kind of a business where they can even make passive income or create an asset that they can go on and sell, there is three main areas which you need to focus on, and anything else doesn't really matter. The first main area is booking calls, right? Calls, meetings, appointments, whatever you want to call it. The next area is going to be closing calls. And then the last one is going to be delivering your service. And so anything else that is not one of these three things, you should never, ever do them, quite literally, until you get to the point where you are making 40, 50, 60K a month, even 100K a month in some circumstances. You shouldn't focus on anything else. And you might think, well, Ben, you're here recording a YouTube video right now. That's not booking calls. That's not closing calls. That's not anything else, right? But actually it is. And I'll go through some tasks now and some specific things that people do and explain why you should or you should not do them. So let's take creating content, for example, right? Creating content like what I'm doing here now, or posting on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever social media you use for your niche. This is going to go under the category of booking calls, right? So this is obviously pretty important. This is something that you need to do if you want to grow your inbound channels. Of course, it depends on the niche. Some inbound channels just aren't going to work for some niches. But me recording this video right now is contributing to booking calls. If you look at the link in the description, you can actually book a call to the business that we have. I'm not trying to shill it. I'm just trying to show you exactly, what I'm doing here and why I think creating content is booking calls. But that's that. The next thing that I want to talk about is people who do, branding, or let's say like logo creation, or, let's say like website design for their own company, right? This thing, people might think, this comes under booking calls. I'm creating a nice logo so that people see the business and it's like, it's got a good reputation. The branding's cool, so they'll book a call. The website looks nice, so obviously they'll book a call if they think the website looks nice because that makes my business look big. But this is just a complete no. This is just doesn't contribute to anything of these three things. Now, do you need a logo? Yes, you do. Do you need a website? You probably do, yeah. Do you need some kind of branding? Yes, you do. But if you spend any more time on this than literally like 10 minutes, or you spend more than like $50 on getting someone to build a website for you, then you've already lost, right? You're already spending time doing something which just does not contribute to one of these three things, right? So this is a task which I just would not include in anything that I'm doing of the day. If I just literally get up my task list for today here right now and I just go through some of these, right? All of these things in here. So for example, one of the things that I did right now was manage the onboarding that we have for two clients, right? So we have 2 new clients that are coming on board, and I'm managing the onboarding for that, right? So I'm telling people in my team, okay, this is what we need to do. This is obviously make sure this is done today. We need to make sure this is done because we have a certain deadline, and this comes under delivering a service, right? Anything to do with actually speaking to clients, managing the onboarding of clients, making sure clients are up to date. This is all going to go underneath delivering the service. Next thing up, I'm creating some new copywriting today for the cold email campaign that we're doing, right? So creating email copy for ourselves, okay? So not for a client that we're doing. So this is, of course, going to go under booking calls. If I go through different things like this right now, so for example, I created a new lead sheet for a client that we're going to use. Of course, that's going to go under delivering a service, right? 2 bits of content, which for today, that's going to go under booking calls. I fixed an email issue that we had for a client. Of course, that's going to go under delivering a service. But if there's anything else which isn't, of course, I had 2 sales calls today, that's going to go under closing calls. But if there's anything else, which isn't gonna focus on one of these 3 things, then you are just wasting time. And I see so many people who do certain tasks where they think they are being busy, right? They think they are, my day's absolutely packed. I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing the other. But if you look at it and you actually break it down, you're actually doing nothing. You're not actually contributing to the goal that you have. Creating a new logo, creating a new website, changing the profile picture or the header on your LinkedIn profile, it's not going to do any of this. Now, Like I said, there is a place for a lot of these stuff, like having a good LinkedIn profile. Of course, it's going to be important to booking calls if you are actually going to reach out to people on LinkedIn, okay? But you do not need to spend all day doing this. You don't need to spend all day researching the best way to do this, right? Another thing, like watching YouTube videos, like do like research, okay? Now, this has got a place, of course. You're probably watching this YouTube video right now, probably, looking for some kind of advice on your business, maybe hope to, find some kind of nuggets in here or some kind of information that's going to help you to progress, okay? But I guarantee there's a large portion of people that are watching this right now. This isn't the first YouTube video you've watched today. This might be the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, maybe even the 10th YouTube video that you've watched today. And a large portion of those aren't actually going to be to do with business. They're not actually going to help you all that much. Now, this is a video that will help you if you are having this kind of trouble, right? But watching YouTube videos makes you feel like you're being productive. But if you then don't go and act on what you are learning here, then there is no point in doing this. It doesn't contribute to you booking more calls, closing calls, or delivering the service. Now, of course, if you're watching a YouTube video that's revolved around how to improve in sales, you can say, oh yeah, I'm working on closing my calls, right? But the actual act of you watching YouTube videos does not contribute to that. And so I quite literally could list off 3 things for each of these 3 tasks. And if you only ever did these tasks, you're basically going to get 80% of the results that you're looking for. And you're not focusing on anything else. You've gone from a list of like 50 or 60 tasks down to 9. And really it's 3 tasks, obviously built it into 3. So obviously it's technically 3 tasks, but we're going to call it 9. And if you only did this, then that is all that matters. And you're still going to get crazy results. And so in terms of booking calls, it's either going to be, managing your cold email system or your cold calling system or your cold DM system or whatever it is, because a lot of people are going to be doing outreach, right? So let's say like managing cold email. So this is going to be in terms of responses, making sure the system's right, adding leads in there, that kind of stuff. That's pretty straightforward, okay? The next thing, booking calls, is going to be actually converting positive responses, right? So when someone actually responds to you, obviously crafting out like how to actually, get the response in, focusing on, making sure your objection handling techniques are pretty good, understanding what the person wants, focusing on different templates you can use. That's going to be one thing. And then the next thing is just going to be going out, and I'd probably say like finding leads, but you could actually just go and get someone to do this for you for pretty cheap, to be honest with you, or you could outsource this for relatively cheap. And so that's the 3 tasks that you have there for booking calls. That's really all that you need to do. Next, when it comes to closing calls, you literally just need to take the calls, of course, right? The next thing that I would do for closing calls is actually making sure that you are reviewing your calls. And so if you just review your calls every single day when you go to the gym, if you just listen back to your sales calls, don't listen to music, don't listen to podcasts or anything like that, just listen back to your sales calls, this is basically done for you, and you'll very quickly realize why you are, tripping up or doing certain things wrong. Super simple. And then the last thing here is literally just going to be like contacting your prospects before the call. And so just making sure that they actually show up to the call, because that's like the main thing, to make sure that people show up. You're going to get yourself like a 70 or 80% show up rate. If you just give them a call before and say, hey, just want to check, you're still available at 2 p.m. tomorrow, right? They'll say yes. That's going to get you a super high show up rate. Take the calls, review those calls, and that is literally it to get yourself to like 15 or 20% close rate, which is enough to get yourself to easily 20 or 30K a month. Next, in terms of delivering service, this is going to be completely different for everyone because everyone's going to have a different service. But one of the main things is obviously onboarding. And this is something which everyone is going to struggle with and everyone's going to have to deal with. And so onboarding is not just a case of, setting up a Facebook ad account. It's a case of actually managing expectations, getting someone into the business and just showing them, this is how it's going to go. Now, the cool thing about this is you can completely outsource all of this just by having an onboarding document, a sort of evergreen approach where everyone gets the same video, the same document, and they just have the same tasks to do, right? Now, you could obviously, if there's certain things you have to do every single time, like creating specific ad copy or anything like that, you can also outsource it, okay? It's not super hard. Things like creating copy, you might want to do yourself. But again, super straightforward. You probably have like 1 or 2 tasks for this to do every single day. And like I said, you can just outsource it anyway. The next is going to be like managing whatever the delivery that you have is. So if you do ads, if you do, cold emails like we do, if you do, DMs, if you do whatever it is, right? Whatever it is you're actually going and getting for your clients, just managing this, right? So I'm going to put managing ads or leads, right? So basically just making sure this is on top. Now, you can obviously outsource this again completely, which is pretty cool. You can go and get yourself a media buyer, go and get someone who's like ahead of the service that you have. And so this is pretty straightforward. And then the next thing on delivering the series, I'm going to say, is going to be just like research, just making sure that you actually are on top of things. So for us in the cold email space, this is basically super important to make sure that we're actually landing in the inbox and we actually know what's going on in terms of a lot of the email providers that we use. If there's new softwares or there's new techniques people are using, obviously staying on top of that so we can make the best of it. There's a lot of people who are doing like AI in terms of cold email right now, which we're on top of. So there's just things like that. But honestly, if you cover these 9 things, then this is your path to 10 or 20k per month. Now, I'm sure there might be like one different thing that I've left out here, right? Let's say, for example, you might have a situation, where you have like an extra onboarding task to do, right? Maybe there's an extra task you have to do. Maybe you got to hire someone to do this, right? But in terms of tasks that you're going to do consistently and regularly, this is literally it. Like, this is your path. You want to find someone who has the need for your service, go and book a call with them, close that call, and then deliver on the service. It really is that simple. So all this extra stuff about making sure you have like a really cool logo, making sure that your social media page looks cool and stuff like that, it's completely irrelevant. Like, this is the step-by-step guide here to get yourself to the point where you are making 10, 20, 30k a month.